trying to get rid of the No Child Left Behind Act, so I appreciate you bringing that to our attention today. Well, in August of 2005, I was in South Africa. I was studying I went over with my wife who was studying public health and HIV over there. And I received an unparalleled political education, and I learned several lessons that I believe are useful for us today. And I just want to share a couple of the things that I learned while I was over there that I think really should stand as an inspiration. I mean, I had a chance to go to Robben Island that served as the prison camp for political dissidents under the apartheid regime, and got an actual tour of the prison cell by one of the former inmates in that cell. And then we were able to go to the Apartheid Museum and see these amazing images of millions of people taking the streets and overthrowing a government that had been repressive and racist for decades, and getting tours from the activists who had been part of that struggle, who had dedicated their lives to that struggle, was just an inspiration. And I think it was really a testament to what ordinary people can do in mass when they join forces. But another thing happened while I was being inspired by this. It also left me impatient for the slow pace of change here in our own country. And I was kind of, ashamed when I was talking to the South African activists who had been so engaged in the struggle to talk about where the state of the anti-war movement was in the United States. And so intellectually I knew that our struggle would reappear, that anytime there's oppression, anytime there's exploitation, anytime there's war, that people will eventually revolt against those conditions. But I was getting sick of waiting. And then I went and checked my email, and I found out that there was a woman who was staging a camp, helping to surround George Bush at Camp Casey. And it was just absolutely an inspiration and a sign of hope that we could change society. And while I was in South Africa, I read this quote from Cindy Sheehan and shared it with all of the comrades in South Africa who were so inspired by her courageous action. She said at Camp Casey in Bush's backyard, she said, quote, "Bush says that we have to stay the course in Iraq to honor my son's sacrifice. Why would I want one more broken-hearted mother in Iraq or in America because my son is dead? I don't want him to justify his killing and his murdering and his imperialistic foreign policies on my son's blood and my son's honor. I want him to honor my son by bringing the troops home immediately. It's the protesters who will stay the course. We will complete the mission. We started it, and we're going to finish it." And those were the words that convinced me that and now the tide has turned. People have heard Cindy's words and thousands of others who have stood against the war, but it's the politicians who haven't listened or truly heard that. It's the Nancy Pelosi's and the Democratic Congress who's had forever to cut funds to this war and haven't done it. But I think Dick Cheney really summed up the overall political mood of the establishment when he was asked recently about the polls that show 2/3 of Americans are against this war in Iraq. And you remember what his reply was? He said, "So." Not a very articulate man, but that was his response. And the reporter replied, "Well, you don't care what the American people think?" And Cheney replied, "You can't be blown off course by polls." I'm here to say tonight that Cindy Sheehan and all of us here tonight are forming that mighty gale force wind that's going to blow the war machine off course. And with your help, I think tonight and on in the future, we can build a movement that can organize events like this. We can get in the streets and show our opposition and force our issues into the mainstream of the media. And I also want to say that it takes a great deal of financial assistance to put on events, to get Cindy Sheehan out here, to fly in our speakers, to hold the event here at this hall. And I'm really hoping that people will dig down and be generous in helping us build this movement. We didn't have the assistance of Bill Gates, who lives just across the lake from here, but didn't show up tonight. So we don't have the power of that big purse, but we do have each and every one of us who can dig into our pockets and help Cindy Sheehan spread her message of peace around this country. So I want to encourage you to find the hats that are coming around and make a donation right now as the question and answer period continues. And I want to thank you for your time.
I heard many men lying, I saw many more a-dying, but I ain't a-marching anymore. It's always the old to lead us to the wars, always the young to fall. Now look at all we've won with the saber and the gun. Tell me, is it worth it all? For I stole California from the Mexican land, fought in the bloody Civil War.